Hi, it's Katina Anglin, and this is A Good Show. Stay tuned for a marvelous episode of A Good Show. Hi, welcome back to A Good Show. I know it's been a while. I've missed you too. But I've been off doing some pretty amazing things, some of which you've probably already read about in the newspaper, and some you'll soon find out about. But I've just had a really incredible summer. And I have spent a lot of time with a lot of you, and I am so grateful for each and every one of you. God is just always blessing me in some way or the other. And I have found that some of my greatest blessings is the opportunity to know you. So I just want to say thank you very much for being on this journey with me. And let's get on with this episode of A Good Show. Welcome back. So, on this episode, what I want to talk about is I want to talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk. I think Charlie Kirk was a phenomenal individual. I have spent hundreds of hours watching hundreds of hours of Charlie Kirk debates. Not just Charlie Kirk, but I've spent a lot of time watching his episodes, and I've got to hand it to him. His resolve, the way that he handled himself, is just absolutely remarkable. And there has been a lot said about him, pros and cons. Look, the guy was just a human being, so he had his pros and cons. But I think that he has also garnered some controversial comments that actually go beyond being controversial. They are actually untruthful. And, when we take a look at Charlie Kirk, and we say, well, who is Charlie Kirk? Charlie was a man who believed first in Jesus Christ. It's the first thing to be said about Charlie Kirk. The man loved God. He spent a lot of time just making sure that he was able to interject in every single speech, debate, every opportunity he had. He made sure that Jesus Christ was interjected in his speech. And he did so boldly. And when he spoke, you could hear Charlie Kirk's love and his commitment to God. He was a man who loved his family. And one of, I think, his greatest prides was just having the camera following him around, with him and his family, because he was recording their experiences and their moments, their memories, and he was allowing the world to get a look at what it looks like to have a healthy family life. And then there was his love of his country. Charlie was an American patriot. And don't hate him because he thinks that America is great. Don't hate him because he thinks that America is the greatest country in the world. I happen to feel the same way about the Cayman Islands. I don't have the manufacturing power that America has, but I have options to go live other places in the world. I don't move. I don't move because I love what I have here, because I think that the Cayman Islands is the best country in the whole world. Charlie's views were America first. Not Republican first, not Democratic first. It was America first, not blacks first, not whites first. It was America first. He just wanted America to be as great as it could be. He wanted it to turn at this point. And he wanted everyone to see just how great that America really was. He wanted it to refocus on family and on truth, you know, to have a strong society built on a family and not an ideology. Americans over illegal immigrants, American manufacturing restored and all things American. He was an American, a patriot, he was a nationalist, kind of like me, not American, Caymanian. He was a Christian. He's not a far-right activist like many in this world have described him. Even our own Radio Cayman labeled him a far-right activist. Never referred to the man as being a Christian, although we are a nation of Christian values. Our very own Radio Cayman labeled him a far-right activist. But Charlie was an example to us as to how to stand boldly for our faith, even unto death. It was reported that Charlie had commented to one of his companions on the day that he was shot that he had felt unsafe that day. But he would not let the fear overcome his purpose. And despite being fearful, he used his courage and he stepped into the arena that would ultimately lead to his assassination. People all across the world have, even without knowing the definition of some words that they were using, called Charlie all sorts of names before he was executed and after his execution. You can call it assassination or execution, it doesn't matter. Somebody murdered the man. And one of the words that they used to describe Charlie Kirk all the time was fascist. And I always said, well, do they know what it means to be fascist? Because a fascist is someone who supports fascism. Cambridge Dictionary calls it fascism, a political system that's based on a very powerful leader, state control, and being extremely proud of country and race, and in which political opposition is not allowed. Now, Charlie may have been patriotic, and he felt that America was the greatest, like I said already. But Charlie was not a person who did not allow people or try to drown out or to refuse or restrict or prohibit other people's views. Charlie was a person who often opened his debates with the statement, if you have an opposing view, please come to the mic. He invited dialogue, debate, differences, discussions, because he understood the importance of debate and dialogue. And he appreciated the fact that people had differing views from what he had. And, he often said that he stood a chance of learning by listening to the opposing view. He was the very opposite of a fascist. They also called him a racist. Someone, according to Cambridge again, and you're free to look this up in a different source. It doesn't matter to me. I know exactly what racist mean, but I felt that it was necessary to share the definition of racist for the purpose of this show. And I use Cambridge again, and it says that a racist is someone who believes that their race makes them better, more intelligent, more moral than people of other races, and who does or says unfair or harmful things as a result. Another example it gave of a racist was that it's coming from or having the belief that people who belong to other races are not as good, intelligent, moral, etc., as people who belong to your own race. Charlie was white American, by the way. It goes on, it gives yet again another definition, and it says racist is relating to policies, behaviors, rules, etc., that result in a continued unfair advantage to some people and unfair or harmful treatment of others based on race. And finally, a person who believes that some races are better than others, or who acts unfairly to someone because of his or her race. Well, let's have a look at what Black social media icon Brandon Tatum had to say about Charlie. So here is Brandon Tatum. And Brandon Tatum said that, and he's speaking about efforts that Charlie Kirk took to help promote Black people in America. We wouldn't have, and I quote this, we wouldn't have a Republican Party if it weren't for Charlie Kirk, Brandon Tatum told ABC News. Tatum, alongside Charlie Kirk, conservative podcaster Candace Owens, helped organize the first Young Black Leadership Summit in 2018. It was the largest gathering of Black conservatives ever invited to the White House. Nearly 400 young people had their travel and expenses covered by Turning Point USA, leaders said. For some, it was their first plane ride, the first time they'd worn a suit, and their first glimpse of Washington. That summit, Tatum said, was a turning point. Every Black conservative that you can think of that's prominent on social media today, most of them came from that summit. There's a point I want to draw to your attention here. This is said to have happened in 2018. This happened 2 years after Donald Trump took presidency and 2 years after Obama was elected out of the House. Remember this. This didn't happen under Black Obama's leadership. It happened under the leadership of someone who many Americans call racist, and through the assistance of Charlie Kirk, along with conservative podcast Candace Owens. That's how the largest Black leadership summit happened in 2018 for them getting to learn about the White House and politics. That doesn't seem to be very, very racist. It doesn't seem to be racist at all. I mean, after all, if Charlie was really a racist, wouldn't he have made sure that white Americans only benefited in such a way? Why would he make sure that young Black Americans got their first introduction to the White House and pay their expenses? That goes against the very definitions of racism that racist ideology that I just read out to you. I can get a little bit emotional about these sorts of things also. One of the greatest controversies, I think, certainly one that really sat at the top of the scale for me with Charlie Kirk comments, was the Black pilot argument. So we've decided to show that also. Lou, can you show the first clip for me, please? Because this clip puts it in context. Exactly what was being discussed at the time when the comment about the Black pilots was made by Charlie Kirk. Please watch and listen, because we're going to lay the context first. Okay? This was on the Charlie Kirk show, panel discussion, lay the context, and then we're going to look at when the comment was actually made. Lou, let's play the first clip, thanks.
Clip 115.
Welcome aboard, folks. We are very proud to share that your pilot is the most diverse pilot on record. She is a 3'2" transgender pansexual Native American man who identifies as a 6'tall Korean woman. Any volunteers to help reach the controls are welcome. You will want to buckle up as her epilepsy is often triggered by the flashing lights in the cockpit. Remember to keep a whisper volume level, as she may have to consult instructional videos as a refresher during the flight. Now, can we get a big cheer for diversity?
I think that's Final Destination.
Final Destination, yeah.
Plane explodes, everyone dies.
And then he then gets back to being in the terminal, if I remember the movie
yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
Right?
But
Because
then
it's like a forward backward.
fate kills all.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
remember
Yeah.
it. Good for you.
I don't think I saw more than that scene. I just remember that so vividly because it happens and then he goes back to the terminal. But who wants to take it? This is what's going on. So United Airlines, we have the Kirby clip. Can we get to this? Andrew, I want you to riff on this from a PR perspective. You had a beautiful take on it earlier. And we have the Kirby.
So just while they get it, so the reason, of course, it's in the news is people have dug up remarks that United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby made in, I think, 2021. But he says, you know, United Airlines is very committed to making sure that 50% of their pilots are women
I
or
want to
people of
get
color.
that. Yes. And by the way, just Andrew had 3 really good takes. First, from a PR perspective, of just how the questions were asked. And then, and remember, just like the framing. It's kind of, and I want you to just play this tape. And then I want you to walk people through, just because you listen to this from a PR kind of standpoint. Let's play cut 93, please.
Yeah, that's it.
Military. How is diversity and diversity targets working into the Aviate Academy?
We have committed that 50% of the class of the classes will be women or people of color. Today, only 19% of our pilots at United Airlines are women or people of color. And by the way, from all the data I've seen, that's the highest of any airline in the country.
White males don't just dominate in the cockpits, also in the C-suite at United Airlines.
Well, look, at United, I'm proud of the diversity that we actually have in our C-suite. I think if you look around corporate America, one of the things we do is, for every job, when we do an interview, we require women and people of color to be involved in the interview process.
So I just want to say, white males dominate on the hosts of Thought Crime.
This is not a diverse space.
We have 100%. We have a diversity problem here on Thought Crime.
Yeah, we do.
Our demographics here exactly match the demographics of the men who wrote the Constitution.
So Andrew, just riff on this, because the buried lead here is not even the CEO answering the question. It's the Axios propagandist, the way he asks the question.
No, this is why we say that the media is the enemy of the people, because the way he asks these questions, he's assuming that this value system that's completely, arbitrary, it's just the next new thing. So he's assuming the virtue in his line of questioning. So he's demanding that the respondent, in this case Kirby, CEO of United, fits into this moral framework that he's just established in the question. You could call it leading the question. Yeah, I mean, but the way that, imagine Musk pushing back on this. He would basically be like, well, your question's BS. But instead you have this weak, effeminate, turns out drag queen CEO that doesn't push back on the premise, doesn't reject the premise at all, instead parrots it back. And there's a striking moment here. 19% of United's pilot corps is minority or women.
Now, no coincidence, 19% of their flights are never on time.
Correlation without causation.
No, I'm just,
they have to get ready.
Yeah, it's a
get ready.
I was gonna riff on that. I can't. So here's what's crazy. Going from 19% to 50-50. Blake's still laughing at himself. Going from 19% to 50-50 in 1 year. That he said our class in 2023 in 1 year is actually impossible. And I think, Blake, you made this point. Are there even enough women or minority potential pilots out there that want to be a pilot?
Where are they going to find these people?
It's the funny thing, because
where's the supply going to come from?
There's a diversity push in literally every industry in America. So they're like, okay, we need to have more, women and people of color physicists and pilots and finance gurus and film directors.
Don't forget surgeons.
But we can't also it's okay that they're more common than the population in professional sports or hip hop or any of these industries, and we don't want that to go away. And you need only a very basic brain here to do the math in your head and say this doesn't work out. And then, if you just go back to the source, okay, well, like, what's the intake from this?
That video that you just watched there's a discussion that goes on for about another 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes at that panel, and they're discussing DEI, diversity, equality, and inclusion. And they're just having this all-out debate about why it can't work and why it certainly can't work for pilots nor surgeons. They draw reference also to the NBA and the NFL and the entertainment industry, which is predominantly ruled by the blacks, but of course nobody wants to upset that reign, right? And then it comes to this when Charlie makes this comment. And it's really important that you pay attention to this second clip, because this second clip is where the whole racist black pilot comment, misconstrued, misinformed, mispublicized. Honestly speaking, the media should have been held accountable for the way that they misled people on that comment. And we have to understand this. People trust the media. The media has the ability to cause a positive or a negative influence, to cause people to have a positive or negative behavior. And so we also have to hold the media accountable for what it says when it says it. So, Lou, please, let's have a look at the second clip.
Robbery rings.
Yes.
Because people are like, I don't feel safe in my home. And we can see from the crime statistics that they're going up. Inflation, it hits personally. And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off. And I feel better now thinking about that.
No, I mean, like, you want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not what I believe.
It is the reality the left has created.
I want to be as blunt as possible, because now I'm connecting two dots. Wait a second. The CEO has said that he's forcing that a white qualified guy is not going to get the job. So I see this guy. He might be a nice person. I say, boy, I hope he's not a Harvard-style affirmative action student that has points for, and he landed half of his flight simulator trials.
That's the thing. It's
such a good point.
And by the way, it creates like unhealthy thinking patterns. I don't want to think that way.
No.
Yeah.
And no one should, right? I mean, so then I kind of sit down and I'm like, boy, I hope he knows what he's. And by the way, then you couple it with the FAA, air traffic control. They got a bunch of morons and affirmative action people. Yeah, it's play cut 112. What is? Can you give me some context of what this
is? So when you land, there's a dialogue that goes on between the pilot and air traffic control. So you've got this pilot.
Is this real?
This is real, apparently, and he's having a debate. Well, it's going around. Somebody probably leaked it to James O'Keefe, but like he's having a debate with air traffic control, and she's trying to tell him how she thinks he should land, and he's saying, "Woman, I've been doing this for 15 years. I think I know what I'm doing." And she goes, "I just Googled this."
Do you remember when I said this a couple weeks ago? I said they're hiring a bunch of blacks for no reason at air traffic control
this started in the Obama years. This is actually a story.
I'm saying though, this has been going on, and I've been getting whistleblowers from the FAA for years, and people would say you're a racist, you're this. Play cut 112.
For a short approach, if you're going to do a power off 180, that's my point.
Well, okay, I will remember that from now on, no problem.
Yeah, when you ask for a short approach, I expect you to turn your base to beam the numbers.
All right, this will be a full stop for 6-5 Charlie, and maybe we need to talk about that some more, because you're the first controller in 15 years that's ever said that.
Well, I'm just, if you ask for a short approach is when you turn your base to beam the numbers. If I know you're a student asking for a short approach, I know you're out there practicing and you probably will extend. But if you're doing something other than a short approach, don't ask for a short approach.
Well, I will definitely look up the definition of short approach because I've never seen where it says you turn base a beam of numbers because I don't see how you could possibly do that.
Well, I Googled it, actually. I Googled short approach, and it says turn your base a beam or before the numbers, and you will land probably
Is this
right
real?
around midfield.
Can we?
It sounds real.
No, I want to. Can we make?
Well,
Can I?
then,
Where did this
I
come from?
apologize for
Can we get the
requesting the
chirp?
wrong
I need the
thing
chirp.
because,
Where's my chirp?
This has to be
Short
fake.
approach means power
Come on,
up
guys. We got to be
180,
quicker on the chirp. Where did this
that's
come?
not what it means.
Can you find this where this came from, Blake?
I'll look into it.
I want to make sure this is 100% right. By the way, not. But the
I had
fact
never
that
heard this before. I didn't know that was coming. God, no.
So I just
We're all dead. We're all
This
dead.
is a pilot who's 35,000 feet in the air trying to land a plane full of passengers, communicating with some moron who is no better than, like, just customer service.
To be honest, though, she sounded somewhat
It's a real person.
knowledgeable.
The woman is Brenda Mooney, and she's apparently a air traffic controller at the small airport of Denton, Texas.
So this was a real dialogue.
Apparently, at least they've fingered a real person, and there's a petition with 1,700 signatures to have her removed.
So I'm sorry. I just couldn't help but laugh also because it is so ridiculous when you say that you're an air traffic control. You're talking with a captain who's been doing this for more than 15 years, and you say that you know that you're right because you Googled it. And you see, this is what it was that they were talking about. And I invite you to go watch this video for yourself. It's Thought Crime episode number 29 on the Charlie Kirk show. You can find it on Rumble. You can find it on YouTube as well. But what they were talking about was putting people in place who are not qualified for a position because of their ethnicity or the sexual orientation or their gender. Because I get on a plane. I want to know, without a shadow of a doubt, that the person in that cockpit is qualified to fly me. I don't want to know, oh, well, you know what? We got a female in the cockpit. That's real great, sister. Good for you. You qualified? Because if you're not qualified, I catch the next flight. Because I won't go up safely and I won't come down safely. All right? I don't want to be flown around. I don't want to be operated on by somebody who is given a position because of their color of their skin. Now, this is just one of the many controversial statements, I can call it, that Charlie Kirk made. I mean, he's made statements on abortion, and there's also the black woman intelligence comment. We're going to cover some of those in future sessions, not right now, but we're going to cover some more of them, right? Because we as the church, the members of the body of Jesus Christ, we need to be sure what examples it is that we following. We have to be sure that we understand the issues and so on, because if we just getting caught up in the fluff of things, we are going to be misled. Which brings me around to another point, and that is this about Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was a man of God, but he was not Jesus Christ. He's not God. I am becoming concerned by the amount of praise that Charlie Kirk is getting. I know when Stephen was crucified, he was crucified. The story is in Acts chapter 7. In Acts chapter 8, it tells you how they collected his body. They went off and they had a great lamentation over Stephen. He was the first Christian martyr. He was stoned to death. All right? But nowhere in the Bible does it go on to say that they erected a statue, painted a picture, did anything of the sort. I think it's really awesome how people have stepped forward and said, listen, I am not going to be intimidated. I am not going to let his assassination cause me to shut up. I am not going to let his efforts die in vain with his death. I get it. I support that 100%. And it's one of the reasons why I am concerned about Christians and their understanding of the times and who they are supposed to follow and who they're supposed to support. Because when I look at what happened with Charlie Kirk and how Christians have treated his death and his life, I can't help but say to myself, well, what will they say and do with me? Because I haven't been particularly reserved about my views on things either. So please understand my genuine concern. But I am more greatly concerned that perhaps we are taking the celebration of his life a bit too far. We must be exceptionally careful that we do not fall into idolatry. And we must also be even more careful that we do not give away God's glory. God said nobody can take his glory. But boy, sometimes we can really do some damage with what we're supposed to do in our glorification of him. We have to be exceptionally careful that we do not attribute Jesus Christ's work in us, his crucifixion and the power of his resurrection and ascension, to Charlie Kirk or to any other human being. Charlie Kirk was a man of God. He was brave, outspoken. He's a wonderful role model for us in these times as to how we should stand for the gospel. Charlie Kirk is only one of billions of people who have died for their faith. Billions. Matter of fact, one of the things that I see that's missing as a discussion from the Christian environment is the persecution and execution of the Christians in Syria and what is happening in Nigeria and has been happening for years in Nigeria. And there's very little comment about it. But there's so much about Charlie Kirk. I know one of the things about Charlie Kirk is that it happened in front of thousands and thousands of people, even those who were watching online, So the magnitude of that, I get it. But let us be careful that in the aftermath of all of that we do not find ourselves praising Charlie Kirk, who followed Jesus Christ and who I believe would come back and say to us, what are you all doing? I promoted Jesus Christ. I didn't promote Charlie Kirk. So let us be careful that in all that we say, we magnify Jesus Christ and not Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk spent his time magnifying Jesus Christ. So let us be sure that we magnify Jesus Christ, our wonderful Lord and Savior, and Jehovah, our Father, and the Holy Spirit, because none of the martyrs can do anything for any of us. They can't save us. They can't give us the gift of salvation. They can't cleanse us of sin. No, nothing. So let us praise Jesus Christ. Okay? Listen, thank you so much for being here with me on this episode of A Good Show. It was wonderful. It was afternoon when I got in here. Now it's getting into night. So I just watched the day actually finish sitting here. Now, I actually watched the sunset while I was talking with you guys. And I'm just grateful for another day. And like I said, I'm grateful for all of you. And I look forward to seeing you again on another episode of A Good Show. You can watch A Good Show every Wednesday and Sunday on Cayman Life TV, channel 33 on Logic. You can also find us on Facebook and even on YouTube. God bless you.